These sales are starting to stack up. Tough choices made easier by a more accessible reserve list. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. With the falling market of the reserve list and making these cards more accessible to the average player base, and certain players watching these cards carefully, has led to some interesting sales. A lot of the lower end buyouts aren't really happening like they used to in 2021, early 2022. But what we are seeing in the financial side is an uptick in sales in the lower mid-level tier reserve list collection. These are cards that may have been around the $200 mark, are now below the $50, $60 mark, and now those sales are starting to take off. So on this week's installment of the Hot 10 Reserve List Edition, we're going to go through these sales together. I call it a walk down the yellow brick road as we approach the Emerald City on the way to the Wizard of Oz. We got to check things out. We're going to look behind the curtain. We're going to start at number 10. We're going to go all the way down to Lollipop Land until we get to number 1 and find out the hottest selling card. This is going to be a great journey because some of these cards out there have been falling in price and they're finally seeing an uptick in sales, which means market demand is being met with lower prices. Let's go ahead and take a look at some great cards. Thanks a lot for joining us. Let's get this party started. Tyga at number 10 from Revised is the only dual land to crack the list this week with 20 sales from January 7th to the 13th. With a market price of $377.02 US, this card continues to trend sideways, but with market demand being mainly in the heavily played to moderately played condition for this card. Players are seeking it out, but they're definitely not going for investable grade. They're going for play copies to add to commander decks. Now, number 9, Pendril Mists from Weatherlight barely beats out Tyga with 21 sales this week. This card is an amazing format card I love to build and play with. The market card price is only $12.59, but it's been as high as $40. Now, this is the substitute for Tabernacle at Pendril Vale, and that's because each creature from this card as an enchantment has, during your upkeep, pay 1 or bury this creature. Now, as a 1 blue 3 generic, this card can be splashed into a lot of decks, and when you use it with some of the Magnuses and other cards available, you can build a really quirky commander deck for a very low cost that nobody will see coming, and you can have a little fun in a casual game, and the price is definitely hitting the right market price right now. Number 8 is Sliver Queen from Stronghold. This was on my card watch this week, and I was glad to see some people taking advantage of those lower prices. The market price is $239.82 US, but you can find this card on TCG Player for as low as $150 US heavily played. And remember, if you happen to be shopping on TCG Player, consider using my affiliate link found in the description of all of my videos. Clicking on that link will take you directly to TCG Player for your shopping experience. And of course, MTG Moxman and my channel get a kickback of 3.5% on any purchases you make using my affiliate code. Thank you very much for doing so, guys. It really does support the channel, and I really appreciate everyone taking the time to do that. What an amazing card to add to any Sliver deck and any future Sliver deck you might think about getting, because this is the lowest this card has been in a couple of years. Let's go ahead to number 7, and that is Mox Diamond, again from Stronghold. 23 sales this week, January 7th to the 13th, with a market price of $614.72. This is a card that has the story going a little bit sideways for it. There are near mint copies selling, but just as many in the moderate to heavily played, which tells me people are looking for this card and they really only want to pay around the $350 to $400 mark. They don't want to go over that in this economic climate, but they do want to get their hands on the card. So that seems to be the most comfortable price that people are paying to get this card. Something to consider, because as a colorless artifact that fits anywhere, this card has a lot of uses. Discarding land cards is not a drawback like it used to be. You can go ahead and find so many ways of dredging that land back up or finding ways of casting it from your graveyard that it's really not the negative it used to be. What an amazing card to have on turn 1. Now, number 6 this week, Anvil of Beau. 25 sales, and that market price is still at a very good sweet spot. At $42.10, you can find lightly played copies for $35 on TCG Player. Locally here in Canada, it's still around $50 Canadian. But if you're looking overseas, €26.92, and there were a lot of cheaper copies on Card Market, so you might want to look at that if you're overseas. Some great prices to be had on cards from Visions right now. An amazing card. Now, number 5 this week is Fork from Revised. It has made it back in there with 26 sales this week. The market price is $41.07. This is kind of a staple in the Hot 10. It comes in here all the time, but it's been absent for the last several weeks, and it's glad to see it coming back up because, again, that price being lower and lower is attracting an audience of players to buy the card. And the copies that are selling are heavily played to moderately played for $9 and $12. They're very cheap copies going on TCG Player, and a couple of damaged copies also sold for about $6 Canadian each. They were damaged, but they were together for $6. Pretty crazy deals out there, guys. Number 4 this week is Brain Geyser, again revised edition. 30 sales this week. Market price is $22.70, but again on TCG Player, you can find this card as low as $9 for a moderately played copy. If you have the spare cash, I do recommend getting an investable grade 1. It'll be the ones that appreciate most, and in any kind of spike, it's the card that's kind of going to draw value. But if you just need a play copy, it hasn't been this cheap again since around, I'd say, 2020. So it's a good time to buy the card. It hasn't been this cheap in 3 years. It's one of those great old school fun cards to have around. But since it says target player, and there's so many ways of ramping mana, it's not bad in Commander either. You can do some crazy stuff when you want to do it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 3 this week, and that is Volroth Stronghold from Stronghold. That sounded weird in my tongue for some reason. 32 sales this week. Market price is $89.69, which this card has been as high as $200. It kind of hovered around the $150 mark for quite a while. It's been trending down very slowly now. It's kind of near the bottoming. Nobody really wants to touch it. Nobody wants to dive into it, but it is at that moment when you look and you say, this might be the right time, because lightly played copies are $70-something on TCG Player. Locally, this card's still $110 Canadian, and that's for a light slight played. It's not bad, but cards like this just continue to have use, right? When you're looking for reserve list cards, there's ones you just love to have, but there's ones that have practical uses, and this is one of them, which is why I always recommend for a card like this, at least having one in your collection, and it's not hard to get with all the modern cards you could trade in nowadays to get some banking buck to buy cards like this. Now, number 2, Yavamaya Hollow. I've mentioned this card a couple times as well. 39 sales this week. Market price is $79.47. Moderately played copies going for $50. That's what's selling, okay? This card is still dropping, but it's dropping very slowly. Again, that kind of floor in the market's kind of being found because the uptick in sales is telling people it isn't really dropping any lower. I want to get my hands on a copy. This isn't a bad price to buy it at, especially if I can get a copy for $50, do some trade-in dollars that I got or 10% buyback stuff from TCG Player. So that's where players are going with it. Cards like this, when you use it with cards like the Allosaurus Shepherd, there's ways of regenerating them, keeping them alive. These are a good way to use in elf decks and stuff that are tribal and green, and you need that regeneration factor, and it's not on a creature. This thing is a land that can regenerate creatures. An amazing card to have around. Love this stuff, guys. Now, let's go ahead. You've waited long enough. Let's go check out number 1. And that is Bubble Matrix from Weatherlight. This card is exceptionally cheap right now. We have talked about it because it's lost so much value that how could you not want to dive into a few copies? And people buying this one, it's near mint. When we take a look at the Bubble Matrix, as a 4-drop generic, and all damage dealt to creatures is reduced to 0. You are nullifying a lot of damaging sorceries, instant spells that can hit your opponents and hit you, which means a card like this is perfect for people who need to keep creatures on the battlefield and they can avoid combat damage, so they're going to go and just say, put the Bubble Matrix out, everyone's caught in a bubble, it's a happy time for everyone, let your kids go pop them later, and make your opponents work for the kills while you build up your game state. This is some crazy stuff right now. The players are finally kind of meeting with the prices of the sellers, and we're having a very nice little market mix with this level of card. The lower end reserve list stuff still has a long way to fall until it finds its new ceiling, basement, floors, you know, the highest point, the lowest point. But cards like this really seem to be bottoming out, and this is as low as they're going to go from what I can see. We'll see what the market does next little while. I'll follow it closely and let you guys know if I see anything really crazy going on. But I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch the video, making it to the end like this. You can put a boomstick in the comment section if you made it this far. It's fantastic. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope you leave some comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Of course, a big thank you goes out to all the fantastic patrons on this channel who support me each and every day. Without you guys out there, it'd be really difficult to do what I do, so thank you for supporting me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys on the live stream. Have a great one. Here we go again. You made it to the end. What are you doing here? You guys having a good day? Guess what? Guess what? We're going to take... No, we won't do that one. Let's... Hold on. I'm picking something here. I'm picking through. Hold on. Let's have some fun here. You ready? Ready? All right. Let's grab Shadows over Innistrad. All right? That's right. You watched it. It's going into the 20K box because you guys made it to the end of this video, and now you know what went in the box. It may be important at some point. You might want to record what goes in that box. Shh, don't tell anyone. You got to keep it secret. I'll see you guys tomorrow.